Introducing the Fantasy Sport Doctors with your hosts, Dr. Mitch Brecky, Dr. Nick Curry, and Dr. Nick Healy. Welcome to the clinic. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go.
Hey!
All right.
Game time, boys.
Doctors are in.
All right, you guys are listening to the Fantasy Sport Doctors. Our very first episode and very first podcast coming to you live from the clinic. That's right. Minnesota, what up?
Hello.
All right. This week, it's week one, boys. Week one in the NFL. Who's excited?
Oh, I've been waiting a long time.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
Games start tomorrow, and, fortunately, Dr. Mitch and Dr. Nick Curry are going to be in Vegas.
Lucky. I'll be sitting on my couch.
We'll be placing some bets.
It's all right. I'll still be drinking beer. It's
Hey,
fine.
watch your Snapchat feed, people.
Be lots from the book at MGM.
That's right. Dr. Nick, what are you drinking there?
I'm glad you asked. I'm drinking a Shell's beer. Oktoberfest. Getting in the mood for the fall, for the football season. It's made out of the great city of New Ulm, Minnesota.
Love it. Reppin' Minnesota.
Gotta.
Dr. Mitch, what do you got?
I got a wonderful Summit Saga IPA out of St. Paul, Minnesota. One of my favorite beers, actually. I do drink it on the regular, and when I say regular, I mean every day.
So good when it hits your lips.
Yes, it's
So
good.
You know what? I like that, and I am also drinking Saga, and it's my favorite beer on a Sunday afternoon while I'm watching my favorite team win. So, alrighty, moving on. We this week we got some pretty good lineups for you for your daily fantasy sports. We are going to be highlighting teams to pick from and to build your lineups around. And we're also going to be highlighting some key players that we think are must-haves in your lineups. Guys that we're going to be talking about a lot, I think, are going to be Tyler Lockett, maybe a few Moncriefs in there.
There's some gems coming up, is what he's saying.
Maybe a couple of Dallas boys with that Romo injury. So, stay tuned and you're going to learn a lot. So, this is the portion of the podcast that we would normally start talking about a subjective or what we did last week. We're talking about the players and the picks that we had, being that it's week one. We're not doing that this week because we didn't pick anyone last week. So during this portion next week, we're going to be highlighting what we did in the previous week, and we're going to be going over our personal records that we chose on our own DraftKings and FanDuel accounts, and letting you guys know how we did over the week.
Yeah,
So we can highlight my rule over you guys and how better my record was.
took the
In
words
my,
right
in
out
my
of my mouth.
24 years of life, I'm better at life than you.
At least Mitch thinks so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so moving on, we are going to start it off with the top games in both FanDuel and DraftKings to build your lineups around. They're going to be based off the top projected scoring games. So every week we pick the top projected scoring teams by Vegas. This is done by taking the over-under and the spread of all 16 games and identifying the top 6 scoring teams favored by Vegas odds makers. Dr. Nick Healy is going to go ahead and introduce those games while Dr. Mitch Brecky gives us a little inside information and a defensive diagnosis and breakdown.
Well, the first game we got on the docket here is Colts versus Lions. The over-under is they're projected to score a total of 15.5 points. And doing our analytics, we found out that the Colts were going to score 27 points and take the victory in that one. Dr. Mitch, how are they gonna pull through with that one?
I really like this game. We're going to see a lot of points obviously being scored with this game. Colts being at home, Andrew Luck coming off not a high or a very good year. This is his second season with Jim Bob Cooter, which I do enjoy that name.
It's probably the
Jim
greatest
Bob.
name in NFL.
Jim Bob Cooter.
I see the Colts coming out and actually throwing the ball everywhere on the Lions. Lions don't really have much when it comes to defensive secondaries. They run a 4-3 scheme. This is going to allow the middle of the field to be open. You're looking for T.Y. Hilton, Moncrief over the middle. I think there's going to have a lot of points in this game. That's why I think we're highlighting Moncrief. He's a bigger bodied guy. I know T.Y. is more of their number one per se, but I would say let's try to Stick with Moncrief on most of your picks this week. I think he's really going to step up. I think there's been a lot of chatter in the camp about him and Moncrief really making a better relationship with how he's making the ball thrown to him.
I like Moncrief. Like you said, big body, and he could be a huge red zone target for that team. Frank Gore is old. He is very old.
They're resting in peace in him soon, for sure.
He's not going to get the workload that he used to get.
I would be surprised if he, makes it a full season without getting hurt at his age. But I just don't think he's got that bull rush mentality, and I think they're going to be looking to throw the ball once they get into that red zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Like you said, it's going to be a high-scoring game. I don't think the roar is going to be restored. I don't think Lions are going to pull through with this at all. But a guy in the Lions you might want to watch out for is Marvin Jones. He's another big-body guy, and I think he might take. Obviously, he's not going to be Calvin Johnson, but take some of the similar roles that he had prior. So that's another guy you might look to as well.
Coming back over from the Bengals, I think he's going to have to step in to be that number one role as a possession receiver for Stafford. I do have him in some of my lineups, and not undervalued, but a lower value player. I think you can get a lot out of him. I think he's a great pickup in any of your daily fantasy lineups this week.
Yeah, the Lions, again, with the high-scoring games, that's what we're trying to do is we're picking games with teams that score the most points. Again, higher-scoring games, even the losing team could put up a lot of fantasy points. And we're looking at the Lions, and that backfield is a little cloudy. So, Again, I think we're thinking they're going to be playing from behind with Stafford throwing the ball all over the place, and one of the beneficiaries could be Marvin Jones.
Let's get real. That's just going to be a fun game to watch. All right, let's move on to the next one here. The next game is going to be the Cardinals and the Patriots. The whole over-under, that's going to be 48 points for them, and we expect the Cardinals to score right around 26.75 points. Break it down, Mitch.
All right, so this is an interesting matchup here. We got the Cards at the Patriots are going to be at the Cardinals. There's been a lot of going on, obviously, with Deflategate and Tom Brady being out for 4 weeks with the Patriots, but also a newer development. Nikovich, their middle linebacker, one of their linebackers, veteran guy for the Patriots, is out for 4 games due to suspension on substance or performance enhancing. So I look at the Pats where they run a hybrid offense. There's a lot of 3-4, 4-3, mixing and matching. And the Patriots have always been good with this, of bringing in who they can, plugging them in, and matching up with teams where the Cards have a lot of weapons in Michael Floyd, John Brown, Fitzgerald, of course, and David Johnson. I think losing a veteran linebacker like that, not having the leadership of Tom Brady, is going to allow for the Cardinals to score quite a few points on the Patriots. So I like more of a David Johnson pick here. It's really tough for me to pick out one receiver out of those 3 who's going to get the ball that week. It's just distributed so much. It's difficult to pick one out. Now, it wouldn't be a terrible play if you can plug one of those guys in your life. If you hit them, they're going to hit big. But you just don't know. I think a David Johnson out of the backfield, especially with linebacker plays, having to pick up them out of the backfield, David Johnson could take advantage of some inexperience at a linebacker position with out of the backfield catching.
He had multiple touchdowns last year just by receiving the ball, so he's going to get a lot of PPR points as well. With the rushing totals.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at the Cardinals team here, and really the only player from this game that I'm targeting is David Johnson for that factor in PPR leagues. It's going to be hard to pick out that number 1 wide receiver on a team that has 3 number 1 wide receivers, like you guys said. So good job with the David Johnson pick, and I would certainly look to build lineups around David Johnson.
So let me ask you this, guys. Do you guys think the Patriots are going to start 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, 0-4? How do you guys think Garoppolo's going to fare with Brady being out?
I think he's going to manage the game enough, but I think they're going to drop. Off the top of my head, their schedule, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that I don't think they're going to win this game. Let's just say that.
Okay.
I think they're going to drop the first game in Arizona. Is a tough place to play. I know Arizona's defense is a little banged up, but I don't think Garoppolo's going to have enough to be that veteran quarterback to make them.
New England plays in a extremely hard division. And if they have any division games, like I said with Mitch, I don't know their lineups and their matchups the first 4 weeks right off the top of my head. But if they have any division games, I could easily see them dropping at least 1 to 2 games, maybe coming out of there as a 2-2 team.
I see them dropping 2 games. They are at Arizona, at home versus Miami, which I think they can win that.
Yep.
At Houston, at home versus Buffalo,
The
which
Bills.
I think they'll lose. I think they'll lose the Buffalo game.
So you think they're going to win at
2-2.
Houston?
But
I think
hey,
they're gonna go
2-2
2-2.
without Brady. They usually start it slower anyways, so that's not bad.
Yep.
All right, we got the next game on the docket. Here's the Packers and the Jaguars. So the over-under set at 48, and we have the Packers scoring 26 points to take the victory in that one.
All right, so Packers, Jaguars. My defensive diagnosis for this, we're taking a look at the Packers going to be scoring and beating Jaguars. Jaguars' defense is revamped this year. They have a couple first-round picks, one off injury that didn't play last year in Flowers, who I heard is doing very well during camp. You have Jalen Ramsey, who apparently is supposed to be a lockdown corner, and I've heard good things with him. He's doing well in camp. Now, the philosophy of the Jaguars' defense is kind of based out of what I used to know in college at NDSU. The defensive coordinator, Todd Wash, who's there now, and also Gus Bradley, the head coach, is a run-stop-first kind of defense. With me thinking about that, I'm thinking I'm going to stay away from Eddie Lacy.
All right.
Okay? You have Aaron Rodgers back there. I think he's going to distribute the ball to Jordy if he can have enough. They say he's going to go 100%. He's not going to have any limitations on it. So a Jordy, a Randall Cobb, and Aaron Rodgers, if you can fit them in your lineup, are going to be good plays versus the Jacksonville Jaguars this week.
I like the game. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored actually from both teams. If I were in Vegas, which I'm going to be in Vegas, I would be betting the over on the over-under, which I will be betting the over on this game because I think both teams can put up a lot of points. You look at Jacksonville, Allen Robinson.
He's great.
Blake Bortles was much better than anybody really realizes last year. And, you know, they could certainly stick and hang with the Packers. Packers traditionally struggle out of the gate. First game of the year
away
is usually a tougher game for them. I don't see them having a problem in this game. I think, like I said, big points. If I'm picking one player or two players out of this game, I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers, number one, to build lineups around. I love pairing him with Randall Cobb this week.
That's another fantastic point. On the other hand, I actually think the Jags will actually pull this out. They're at the Jags. They're on the up and up, and their offense is so good. I mean, Allen Robinson scored 14 touchdowns last year, and out of camp, all they're saying is how much better he is than last year. So one player I'm definitely targeting, we already mentioned, is Allen Robinson as well from the Jag side, but I can't go wrong with Aaron Rodgers. As long as you can fit him into your lineup for how much he costs, it's not a bad pick. All right, next on the docket, we got the America's team, Dallas Cowboys, against the G-Men. The over-under set at 48, and Cowboys are set to win that game at 26.5 points. They're going to score.
Okay, so we got the Cowboys versus G-Men. This is an interesting game. With Dak Prescott coming in, his inexperience, even though he showed good promise in the preseason, I think it's going to be a tough one for him. I think it's a big boom or bust here. You could play Dak and hope that he's one of those young guns that throws the ball up and you got Dez making plays for you, or you got someone that's going to fumble the ball, going to throw a couple interceptions, and it's going to be a disaster. It could really go either way.
Hit or miss. We'll be talking about Dak later in the show.
Dak would be a good player in a tournament play for you because he could be low-owned or lower-owned. He's very cheap. He has the potential, if he plays like he did in the preseason, to win big for you. But that's a risky play.
So what you're saying is if Dak blows up, he's going to be...
Straight cash, homie.
I would say that, in the pocket.
Yep.
So that's my take on that, just when it comes to Dak.
All right, so, again, I think if you're making multiple lineups and you're going to be playing a tournament game, I think Dak is going to be a very, very high-owned player. I think a lot of people are going to look at that and say, okay, he's a starting quarterback. He played awesome in the preseason. He's only 5,000 points or $5,000. I'm gonna take a flyer on him. I've been reading and seeing a lot of people fading Dak Prescott for other quarterbacks. A fade is essentially staying away from a guy who's going to be highly owned, because if he does bad and you pick somebody who does better than them, you're automatically going to be higher than a majority of the people that picked him. So he may be a player that you could fade, or again, he really is that boomer bust guy who might throw the ball up a lot to Des Bryant and come away with a few tutties.
Yeah, I think the youngins take it home with Zeke in the backfield, rubbing people over like he did Cam Chancellor. I mean, that's straight impressive. All right, next one we got on the docket, the final to round the 6 out is the Saints against the Raiders. They're going to score 51 points, and we got 25 points for the Saints.
This is going to be a barn burner. This is in the Big Easy. Drew Brees just signed a new contract. He's feeling good. The Raiders, I'm really high on David Carr and with their new young talent they have with the Raiders. They have a great offensive line. Saints are favored in this game. With the Raiders running a 4-3 defense, I think they have an improved defense. I think there's a lot of weapons that you can really dive into when it comes to the Saints. You're looking in with the Saints, Drew Brees, he's almost, I swear, a lock to drop 300 yards each time. That's some bonus points for you, whether it be FanDuel or DraftKings. And he's got a lot of targets you can pair him with. And Brandon Cooks for a smaller fee. You're looking at a Snead and a deep sleeper. Not really a sleeper, but some of the people talking about this year. A Michael Thomas is a rookie who's shown some promise. We'll see. And he's quite a bit down on the ranks when it comes to cost effectiveness. I would go with one of the receivers. Fleener's been a big talk to as well. He's a little bit more expensive if you can fit him in your lineup.
They got a lot of guys that they can throw the ball there. Drew Brees has a lot of targets this year, and many of you will remember back when they won the Super Bowl and when they were a really, really powerhouse team, Drew Brees spread the ball around a lot to the tight ends, to the wide receivers, all over the place. If you were open, he was hitting you. I think Drew Brees is a great player to build your lineups around this week.
Listen, Drew Brees, over the last 8 years, every year he has had over 4,000 yards passing and over 32 touchdowns tossed. So great pick there. Actually, we do have one more. We got the Seahawks against the Dolphins. We have the over-under set at 44, and we believe the Seahawks are going to score 26.75 points. This is going to be another fun one to watch.
So we got, the Dolphins are over in Seattle. I'm looking to take only players from Seattle in this game. I don't think that the Dolphins are going to be able to do much up in CenturyLink. It's a tough place to play, 12th man. And I'm going to stay away from the Seattle running backs. There's a lot of unknown of who's going to get the majority of the carries, whether it be Michael Christian,
Christine Michael,
Yeah,
yes.
there you go.
Thank you. Or Thomas Rawls.
Child, please.
Thanks for that correction. I like Tyler Lockett at a long undervalued. Doug Baldwin's going to get a lot. And, I wish Jimmy Graham be playing. I keep an eye out for down the road. I think they're going to get him in the mix once he comes back from his injury. I think you can't have a player like that and not try to utilize him even though they didn't last year. Keep your eyes open for that. But Tyler Lockett I'm really high on in this matchup this week. And I would stay away from the running backs of Seattle due to the front seven that they do have, or front five they do have in Miami.
When it comes to Jimmy Graham, Pete Carroll said it's basically going to be a game-time decision for him. It seems like he's practicing, but then he's not practicing. So it's kind of, if you do you already have him in your lineups, just make sure you pay attention.
I believe they do. They did announce breaking news earlier today that he will be out this first week.
Okay.
He will be out this first week.
Oh, there you go.
I'm looking at two people on the Seahawks roster. Now it's tough. It's too bad Thomas Rawls isn't going to be a full go on this one because Miami had the worst rushing defense in the league last year. They're not a stout run defense, which means that a run first team like the Seattle Seahawks could have put up big numbers, especially with a go-to number one guy. But I'm going to lean towards Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett. I think they're going to have to throw the ball on this one to win for $500 less than Doug Baldwin. I think he's a great option.
Yeah, he's going to get just as probably many receptions, and he's very, very explosive. All right, we're going to move into the assessment portion of the program. We're going to be talking about tournament games. Dr. Nick Curry.
All right, so every week we got two different games that we have that we can pick from. We have tournament games and we have cash-style games. Tournament games are going to be games on FanDuel and DraftKings where you put in a small buy-in, like a $3 or a $5 buy-in with a lot of people, so there's a lot of people in these games, maybe even upwards of 1 million to 2 million people playing along with you, with the top 20% winning money. So what that means, lots of money goes into a big pot. You put in a little bit, you have the chance to win a ton of money at the end. One that we'll highlight and that we talk about a lot is the Millionaire Maker.
Cha-ching.
Yep. That's where you throw down $5 and the winner comes out with $1 million. Now, remember, you are playing against close to 1 million other people, so that's 1 in 1 million odds
So
of
you're
winning.
saying there's a chance.
So there is a chance. But that, again, means that with tournament games, you're going to have to pick quite a bit more risky players or maybe the more boom or bust style players and people that other players out there aren't quite high on yet and are staying away from. The cash games are going to be more of your 50-50s, which means 50% of the people who play win, or your head-to-head games, which we will highlight one each week. Dr. Mitch, Dr. Nick, and I will all be playing a head-to-head game from one of you guys out there. So go ahead and tweet at us.
Bring it on, boys.
Yep. Come on
and
in.
Girls.
We'll highlight your FanDuel or DraftKings name or your Twitter account, and we'll talk about it next week. And we'll definitely give you congratulations and props if you end up beating the Fantasy Sport Doctors. So first up, we have tournament games. Like I said, I think the top tournament plays of the week are going to be your Millie Maker. That's going to give you the most bang for your buck if you're interested in going big or going home. Dr. Nick, we have fantasy fight or flight response players. Do you want to go ahead and give us your fight or flight response players here after we go and give us this little... Fight or flight players. All right, and those fight or flight players, remember, they're the ones that they're going to the boom or bust, right? They're the ones that are going to either go big or they're going to take off running.
All right, this whole segment's probably my favorite part of the show because I get to tell you who to choose and how you're going to win your money with my picks. All right, for my fight or flight when I'm doing the tournament games, I got my boy Kobe Fleener down in New Orleans. You know how Drew Brees likes to find those tight ends going down the middle, and he's a big target that he can score points in the end zone. That's my pick, Kobe Fleener, for my fight or flight. Dr. Mitch, what you got?
All right, fight or flight. I'm staying on the same field, same team. I'm gonna go with my boy Willie Snead. Willie Snead's coming in at about $4,800. High potential to make a lot. He's a fast guy down the field. We saw a little bit of what he could do last year with Drew Brees. There's going to be a lot of balls thrown from Drew Brees' hand on this game. It's going to be high scoring. I think a lot of those balls are going to Willie Snead.
All right, guys. You guys may not know, but I'm going to pick a player that you guys probably are both not going to be happy about, this fight or flight player. I think, again, high scoring game. I'm picking the over in Vegas. I got to go with my boy Jared Cook. Brand new player.
Hit the toilet right there.
Brand new player.
Jesus.
Brand new player out of...
That might be toilet bowl pick right there.
Aaron Rodgers likes to spread the ball around like Drew Brees. And I'll tell you what, right now... he caught 4 to 5 balls every preseason game that he played in, and Aaron Rodgers he's giving him a lot of praise. And when Aaron Rodgers tells you he likes someone, he's gonna throw the ball to that player. I could easily see Jared Cook getting a touchdown, and he's by far the lowest salary value tight end that we have on the slate this week as far as our winning
He's
teams.
3,000 or less
In DraftKings, yeah, he's at 5,300 in FanDuel. So again, FanDuel is a little different. You got a little bit closer area with the tight ends, but in DraftKings, I think Jared Cook could easily save you a ton of money for the upside that he has.
All right. So we're going on to the next portion here. We got our fantasy flatliners for our tournament games.
Fantasy flatliner.
These are essentially our bus picks, and And it's for the price that they're going for. So my fantasy flatline pick, although I still think he's going to have a great game, but I think his price, especially on FanDuel, is 8,300. That's Andrew Luck. I think you can get a lot better value for your pick on FanDuel than going for Andrew Luck. He's going to have some points, but you're paying for it. I think you can find better value and better points somewhere else. Dr.
Child,
Mitch.
please.
Child, please.
We'll see.
Okay, I'm going with my fantasy flatliner is going to be a Matt Ryan. Okay, he's about a top 5-6 player when it comes to salaries out of the quarterbacks. Not happy with how Matt Ryan looked in the preseason. He looked very poor. I've never really trusted him. He throws too many interceptions. They're playing a Tampa Bay team who's up and coming. I just don't think he's going to perform with what you're going to pay for him this week. I would steer clear of Matty Ice because he's going to be ice cold.
All right, we already kind of highlighted this, but my fantasy flatliner this week is going to be on the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going with Thomas Rawls. Head coach came out and said, hey, guys, he's probably not going to get all of the carries, and he's probably going to be limited because he was still injured and he's still nursing that injury. Anytime a coach says that, I'm staying away from him, especially when he's valued at a middle pack running back to the higher end, looking at $6,000 for DraftKings.
7,400 on FanDuel.
Yeah, 7,400 in FanDuel. I know he was a good player last year, but after that injury, I'm going to wait and see when he makes me when he proves it out on the field.
All right, and we're on to our picks. Our picks are more of our essentials. These things might sway a little bit away from our specific formula, but a lot will fall within what we need to do to make the perfect lineup. So this is pretty much our must-play players in tournament games right here. What do you got for me, Dr. Nick?
We already talked about him. Yes, he's going to either make or break your team, but I like taking a little bit of risk. I like Dak Prescott. He's going to only cost you $5,000, and that's the same thing on FanDuel or DraftKings. With that, you can have stellar wide receivers. I got a lineup with Dak Prescott, and my 3 wide receivers are Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham Jr., and Allen Robinson. Think about those points. All right, I'll send you Dr. Mitch.
All right, so my pick must play sways a little bit away from what our formula is this week. It's a quarterback that is on a new team. There's a lot of question marks.
Sam Bradford?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
I'm just kidding.
Definitely not Sam Bradford. I mean, there's question marks around this franchise on the daily every year. I'm going with RG3. He's somewhat of a veteran when he can stay healthy. He's got a lot of young talent around him. He's playing a shambles of a defense in Philly. They don't know. They just got a new quarterback. I think this could be a very, very high ceiling. A lot of points scored if he shows up to play. And he only costs, I think he's less than $5,000, around $5,000 for a quarterback. Very cheap, high potential. I'm going with RG3 for your must play in some of your lineups this week.
He has looked hot during the preseason.
He has looked good.
Love it. For my essential player, the essential player you need in your lineup, he comes in at $6,000 in DraftKings, $6,200 in FanDuel. So again, middle of the pack type player, but I think he needs to be in your lineups. I'm actually going against Dr. Nick's pick with Andrew Luck there. I think your essential player out of this game is Dante Moncrief. I think he is borderline taking over the starting job from T.Y. Hilton.
I like that a lot.
And I think he's going to get a ton of red zone targets. And like we said, this is one of the highest scoring games Vegas is projecting out of all of the games this week. And, a guy like Andrew Luck, I think this is a bounce back year for him. And traditionally speaking, when quarterbacks are playing in big games like this where they're projected lots of points, they're the ones putting up all the points to the wide receivers.
Let's make this clear, Dr. Nick Curry. I'm not saying Andrew Luck's going to have an awful game. I think he's going to play pretty well. But his price is $8,300, and I'm not wasting that much money on a quarterback. It's not my quarterback.
When you got Dak and RG3 going for bare minimum, I can see where you might choose that essential player.
But like I said, I like Dante Moncrief, as you spoke earlier.
Yep. So I think Dante Moncrief is a player you could build lineups around. Definitely Dak and definitely RG3. They're going to save you money to pay big for Julio Jones or an Odell Beckham or somebody like that, or a big running back like Adrian Peterson.
Good. All right, so now that we've talked about tournament game plays, we're gonna transition into cash game plays. Remember, we talked about this. This is more of your less boomer bust players, your head-to-head matchups, your 50-50s, top 50% of the players that are playing in these games will just double their money or win their money, okay?
Cash games, you're going to want to stick to the players that are, like Mitch said, they're maybe a little bit higher floor, lower ceiling type players. Maybe
Consistency.
Yeah, maybe more consistent type players who you know are going to score a week in and week out.
Yep.
All right.
Well, Dr. Nick Curry, why don't you get us started here? We got fantasy fighter flights.
Fight or flight players. All right, my fight or fight player for the cash games is going to be a guy by the name of Randall Cobb. He's got an all-pro quarterback thrown to him in a high-scoring game. Everybody's going to be thinking about Jordy Nelson coming back at 100%, jumping on that train. Randall Cobb is going to catch the ball. He's going to score points, and I'll give you this little tidbit. I was reading in the blogs that all the beat writers in Green Bay put out. They're saying that Randall Cobb's actually taking third down snaps. And third down snaps means he's going to be catching the ball out of the backfield, which, again, in a PPR league, I think this is a huge thing that people are overlooking. Again, I think he's going to get you points, and he has the potential to put you over the top.
Especially with Jordy Nelson taking the number one corner away from Randall Cobb. It's going to give him a lot more opportunities. Good pick. All right. I got mine over here, and we've talked to him a lot. I don't have to say too much. My fight or flight for this is Dante Moncrief. He's just such a big guy, and he had 6 touchdowns before Andrew Luck went out. He was projected to score double-digit touchdowns last year before Andrew Luck got hurt. All right, Dr. Mitch, tell me who you got.
I like that, and you know what? I'm jumping right back on the bandwagon, Dr. Nick Curry. My pick for your fight or flight in the cash games is Randall Cobb as well. I think that's a great play. Like I had said before, the Jacksonville Jaguars are a run stop first team. That's
all we hear is about their defense. They can't stop a nosebleed.
Nope, can't do it. So I'm going to Randall Cobb with your fight or flight, and this is going to lead right into my fantasy flatliners as we get going here.
Fantasy Flatliner. All right, my fantasy flatliner for cash games this week. I don't know if we have talked about it a little bit. I think we named Matty Ice in there once or twice. But my fantasy flatliner for the week is going to be Devontae Freeman. Devontae Freeman comes in at $6,900 in DraftKings. He's coming in really high in FanDuel, and he's going to be one of those like flashy players that people are going to try and pick and think is going to do good, but he really tailed off at the end of the season last year, and Tevin Coleman could actually steal a few carries from him, more specifically in goal line carries.
Agreed. All right. My fantasy flatline here, I do not like him at all this week. I'm going to stick with a running back, and that's a running back for New Orleans Saints. That's Mark Ingram. I feel like C.J. Spiller has been coming out of the woodwork and is getting more carries than people think. He's not going to be the workhorse he was last year. Mark Ingram will not be the workhorse or get nearly the receptions. He had 67 receptions or so last year. That might cut down by 20 with C.J. Spiller being in the lineup. So, all right, Dr. Mitch, what do you got?
My fantasy flatliner, I'm staying with the same team, except I'm going to the ground. Eddie Lacy. I don't like where Eddie Lacy's at right now when it comes to Packers. We talked about it, always have a slow start, and I think playing a run-stop-first defense in the Jaguars is something you want to stay away from, especially with Eddie Lacy. He's still coming off his cheeseburger diet right now. He needs a couple games under his belt before he loses a couple LBs here. Thank you. So steer clear of Eddie Lacy this week one here. He's going to be a good player for you, but not with this matchup.
Alrighty, so we're moving on to our essential cash game players. Remember, these are the players that we're going to be building lineups around in cash games. They're players that are going to be, consistently getting you points and getting you more of that, higher floor, lower ceiling with the potential to score even more. Dr. Nick Healy, who do you got as your essential pick for cash games this week?
I got a guy who people have had a lot of high hopes on in the past, but I really think this is the year that he takes it to another level. That's going to be Latavius Murray for the Oakland Raiders. Oakland Raiders probably have the second best offensive line just behind the Cowboys. So they're going to be pushing people around, and they're playing the Saints, who ranked 31st in the league last year in rushing defense. So I expect with that offensive line, his just mentality of working hard and tearing people down and scoring some TDs is Latavius Murray. Dr. Mitch?
All right, yeah. So I'm going with Drew Brees. This is our second highest point value when we're looking at scoring for an offense. And they're going to be going up to the Oakland Raiders, who are in the bottom 10 of defense when it comes to passing. You have 4 weapons out there in Snead, Cooks, Fleener, Michael Thomas. I like this matchup when it comes to, you're going to have to pay a little up for Drew Brees, but he's going to be a guy in a cash game. He's going to get you the points you need. So I'm going with Drew Brees this week.
Nice. I like it. I like the quarterback position as well. I think Drew Brees is a really solid pick. He's not overpriced, but he's, like you said, going to get you a lot of points in a very high-scoring game. Tradition and going back on what I said earlier, I know this goes against what Dr. Nick was saying, but I like Andrew Luck this week. And I think he's an essential cash game player. I think he's going to give you a ton of points through the air. He's going to be throwing the ball. They're supposed to score 4 touchdowns. I don't see Frank Gore scoring any of those. And Andrew Luck has the ability to run one in himself. I think Andrew Luck is a very safe play in cash games this week. And he's not, quite as high up there as like an Aaron Rodgers type.
Safe play, but it'll cost you.
You forget Andrew Luck does have fleet of foot.
He
can
fast.
move. He can definitely move.
Yeah, he runs more than people think. So you can definitely pick up points on the ground, and you get a little bit extra for scoring that touchdown when you run the ball in versus throwing it in. So
good.
All right, that wraps up our tournament and cash games. We are moving on to the plan portion. The plan is essentially built off of our prescription to win. Our prescription to win is 2 lineups that we have taken and basically stuck to. There may be small deviations, and we'll talk about those as we go into them. But again, remember our whole strategy is to take the top projected scoring teams, like the 6 to 7 top projected scoring teams based off of Vegas odds, and then to pick the players that are going to score those points off those teams and fit them into a DraftKings and FanDuel lineup. So that's what our prescription to win is this week. Dr. Mitch, you want to start us off with the DraftKings?
DraftKings, I'll take the first couple positions here. We're going to start this lineup. We're going to actually go with one of our undervalued guys to lead our team in Dak Prescott. Okay, we're going to save some money there, and we're going to pair him with their stud new running back in Zeke Elliott, and also not a huge fan of this one, but it plugs in okay with our lineup here in Eddie Lacy, okay? Those are our first top 3 there, a quarterback, 2 running backs.
This is going to be more of a tournament-style pick. We think Dak Prescott for the money is going to outperform his salary value. When you're looking at salaries, you can basically times their salary by 2.5, and if they outperform 2.5 times their salary, then that's a pretty good player for the week. And we're looking at about 12 and a half points that Dak has to get. He could easily get that, maybe even on the ground.
Yeah, really, he really could.
Realistically. Yeah. So,
Dr. Healy, why don't you give us our wide receivers on this DraftKings lineup here and talk about that?
All right, we're also stacking the Cowboys with Dez Bryant right at the top. Dak Prescott targeted him twice for touchdowns in the preseason already, and he's going to have a lot more opportunities against such a poor ranked passing defense. They were the last ranked passing defense last year. We're going to follow it up with Dante Moncrief. And then we're going to go with, I believe, is going to be a boom player for Seattle this year. I think he's going to take over the number 1 slot in Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, Tyler Lockett's a guy who I think he's going to catch a lot of deep balls, to be honest. And he's kind of a burner, and it only takes one to go 80 yards and a touchdown, and you're looking at literally top 10 fantasy wide receiver in any given week.
Yep.
So really a boomer bust player there, but a guy that we think is on the up and coming, and with a guy like Russell Wilson throwing him the ball, he's got a good chance.
All right, Dr. Curry, take us away with the final 3.
Final 3, we're looking at Coby Fleener, Christine Michael and the Packers defense. We had to save a little bit of money towards the end. We spent up big for Ezekiel Elliott. We paid a pretty good amount for Des Bryant. And then we had some middle-of-the-pack players in Colby Fleener, Dante Moncrief, and Tyler Lockett. So we had to save somewhere, and we talked about Miami being one of the worst run defenses. They got to give the ball to somebody in Seattle. So whether it's partially Thomas Rawls or partially Christine Michael, they got a 50-50 shot of going in the end zone. One of them does.
Yeah, and he was a second-round pick, Christine Michael, and he doesn't act like it until there's preseason. I know it's only preseason, but who knows? Packers
are going to have a little bit better defense than people assume. They don't take their PEDs as Julius Peppers and Clay Matthews.
Like Flintstone vitamins, kind of.
Yeah. But they passed.
I used to love those things as a kid.
They're out there, so they're out there playing, and I think the Packers are going to be a good team. You're playing Blake Bortles. There's always the opportunity for a pick there. Really, again, saving money. They're one of the cheaper options out there. So, Dr. Nick, let's move over to FanDuel. We'll move over to the FanDuel stuff. There's a little different format with FanDuel. FanDuel throws a kicker in there, and they give you $60,000 to start with.
Ooh, extra money, baby.
Cha-ching, cha-ching. All right, so as Dr. Mitch inclined to earlier, we were starting off with quarterback with Drew Brees. He's going to be tossing the ball a lot. I think he's going to get a lot of yards and a lot of probably 3 or 4 touchdowns on that one. We're going to follow up with our running backs. We took Zeke. We think he's pretty essential in your lineup. He's going to be one of the main focus of that offense. And then because we had so much money with saving in other aspects of it, we were also able to take Adrian Peterson as our second running back. That's a great pick because they got Sam Bradford brand new to the lineup. Who knows if it's him or Sean Hill who's going to start week 1, probably Sam Bradford. AP is going to be taking the rock a lot.
I like Adrian Peterson there, but we also had talked about David Johnson. I'm good either way. Adrian Peterson's going to get the ball a lot. I think the Titans might have a little bit better run-stopping defense than New England. And David Johnson, we talked about Ninkovich going down. He could catch a lot of balls coming out of the backfield as a check down. I personally would go more towards David Johnson there, but I'm good with either one.
Well, actually, I'm just looking at it up here. Tennessee was ranked 18th in the rushing last year, and New England's ranked 9. So,
but I bet that was with Ninkovich in there.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, Nikovich got
swing.
He wasn't taking his Flintstone vitamins.
Nah, he definitely was not.
He was taking something else.
I'll start over the wide receivers for our FanDuel lineup here. We're going to pair Drew Brees with Brandon Cooks. A lot of balls going to be thrown Cooks' way, and I think some of those are going to be going for touchdowns this week with a high-scoring game versus the Raiders. We got Dante Moncrief, another essential player that we had with our DraftKings lineup. And then also Tyler Lockett. You can kind of see a trend here. We definitely do like Moncrief and Lockett for their values and how to plug them into lineups. We like both of those guys. Dr. Nick, why don't you take away? We have a couple more players to fill the lineup.
All right, so we got tight end, kicker, and defense to fill. When we were thinking about tight ends, we were thinking about this.
Spider 2Y banana.
That's right. When you have a
Great
Spider
play.
2Y banana, you're walking that Jason Witten out, and Dak is going to be looking for that Spider 2Y banana.
As a young quarterback, your safety blanket, an inside throw to a tight end is an easy throw to make, and he's a big target, especially a veteran guy like Witten. I think this is why we chose to put him in our lineup as a good pick for us.
Yep. I love Jason Witten this week. He's playing the New York Giants, 31st in against tight ends. They're going to be throwing the ball, and I think that you're, like Mitch said, tight end is going to be a quarterback's best friend, especially when they're learning a new system. So as far as kickers are a crapshoot. I mean, you're going to get some who probably consistently outperform the others, but that's probably more based on the team they're with and how well they move the ball.
Yep.
We're looking at, again, the higher scoring teams. You're probably going to get more points out of your kicker.
Right, maybe as the season goes, you look at the worst red zone teams.
Yeah,
Yep, exactly.
Someone who can't capitalize and they have to settle for field goals. Now you need to see some numbers as the weeks go on here this season, but that's a little take you can maybe look at.
Not
too.
as big of a factor right now, but I really like picking players indoors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or also who's playing the most toughest defense that are not allowing those touchdowns to be scored. So they're
Toughest red zone
forced- yep.
defenses. Yep, that's a good take.
So we decided to go with Adam Vinatieri. Vinatieri's been he's been around for a long time. He's been kicking field goals forever.
He's got to be like 50.
Got like 4 or 5 Super
seriously.
Bowl rings.
Yeah, I mean, he's like Mr. Iceman. He has no nerves.
Is he from like South Dakota or something like that?
I have no idea where
I think
he's from.
he is.
But, he's kicking indoors, high-scoring game. Indy's going to move the ball, so I like Vinatieri. Again, salary-wise, fit him in wherever you can. And last, to save a little money in both DraftKings and FanDuel, we're going to deviate from our top 6 scoring games, and we're going to go with the Cleveland Browns.
You ask, why the Cleveland
Why the
Browns?
Cleveland
Why the
Browns? Please
Cleveland
tell.
Browns, Dr.
Please
Nick?
tell.
Do tell.
You think you can stop me, period? You can kiss the baby.
The Cleveland Browns are playing Carson Wentz, a rookie quarterback who's never started and was never intending to start.
And doesn't he have like a half-broken rib as well?
In the back of his mind, he was like, "Oh, it's cool. I'm gonna sit.
I'm just going to drink the Kool-Aid, sit on the
I'm gonna
bench."
sit.
I got a hot take on that.
All right, give me your hot
I
take.
got a hot take on that. A year ago, Carson Wentz was preparing to play a football game against Weaver State.
Weaver State.
Yep. For basically a Division II football team.
Nice.
Now he's playing NFL.
Love it.
Good luck.
Good luck. Alrighty, so that rounds out our prescription to win. I'll just highlight them quick again. If you're looking for an exact lineup to play in either FanDuel or DraftKings, you can use these lineups as plug and play. And if you win, make sure you share it with us, tweet at us, and send love on Instagram. So FanDuel, we got Drew Brees, Ezekiel Elliott, David Johnson, or Adrian Peterson. Brandon Cooks, Dante Moncrief, Tyler Lockett, Jason Witten, Adam Vinatieri, and the Cleveland Browns as their defense. For DraftKings, we have Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Eddie Lacy, Dante Moncrief, Tyler Lockett, Dez Bryant, Colby Fleener, Christine Michael in the flex, and the Packers defense. All right, guys, that was our first show. First podcast ever. We're all pretty jacked about it.
Oh, yeah. Cheers.
Cheers, boys. Love it. Good work. All right, so we got Dr. Nick Healy this weekend. He's going to be giving you guys some live Periscope.
Everybody tune in. I got some hot takes for you.
10 a.m. Central Standard Time to whenever you guys stop liking him. He may only be on for a few seconds because we don't know how many people are going to come in.
I last longer than a few seconds. Come on.
Well, yeah.
Child, please.
You're going to have to, everybody come in and tweet. If you got questions on who you think who should start or sit, tweet at us. And Dr. Nick is going to be sitting in his PJs. Hopefully he's got something on.
I'll be looking good.
Something on.
Pleats and pants.
Yeah.
You like that? You like that?
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, he's going to be out there. He's going to be live giving you feedback, telling you exactly what players to start or sit in your own fantasy lineups. This isn't daily fantasy sports. This could be season-long stuff too. So get at him. And we'll be hosting this on Stitcher, on YouTube, and on our website at www.fantasysportdrs.com. Like us on Facebook, Fantasy Sport Doctors, Instagram, Twitter, and we'll be posting this all over every Thursday morning. It should be up so that you guys can make your lineups on Thursday evenings, and away we go. You guys got anything else?
Let's go week 1, baby.
Heck
All
yeah,
right.
it's about time.
Boom. Love it. Peace out.